Jen, and I'm starting off this episode at Tucson's Comic-Con. I have grown to love the happy energy of a con, and of course, what I'm always looking for is the crochet. I just love to shine a little spotlight on crocheters wherever I find them out in the world. I absolutely asked for permission before taking any video, and I just wanted to share a couple vendors with you. This booth is by Bad Sissy Crochet, and her Instagram is on her banner. She had a very impressive variety of plushies. I think there's truly something for everyone here. The next booth I have to show you is Curly Kitty Crochet, which is also her Instagram handle. She has cleverly taken the same basic beanie design and then embellished it to create so many wonderful characters. I hope she had a great weekend because I can see a lot of people falling in love with these beanies. We didn't do a lot of shopping. My son likes to add a Pokemon to his plushie collection. I picked up a fern sticker from Freerin and a little watermelon kitty, which I think round out my laptop decor quite nicely. After Comic-Con, we walked over to our favorite restaurant in downtown Tucson, which is called The Hub. Every time I'm in there, I think about how much my dad would have loved these ropes heading up to the ceiling rafters, making the inside almost look like you're sitting in the hull of a ship. After filling our bellies with delicious food and a little bit of ice cream, we headed home just in time to watch the sunset over the Catalina Mountains. So hi, I don't really love the quality of my wireless microphone, but sometimes I just really like to be able to chat with you in real time and not always be doing voiceovers. And so I often do that on my diary episodes. One of the things I've been playing around with since I chatted with you last is very simple and inspired by this guy. Of course, not sponsoring this video in any way. It's like our cheers. Everyone knows my husband's name because he places our coffee order. They see me come in with my basket of yarn, and I put out little coasters for us, and we sit and we drink our coffee, and we've just gotten to the point where we really like our mornings. But so this past week, I guess they came out with the pumpkin spice for the fall, and I decided I needed to respond to that in some way. So these are my little summer coasters, and we usually get hot coffee in a refillable mug, and then sometimes we get a to-go cup for our second coffee to take with us. And I'm going to have to do something about these flowers because these are not really giving us fall. But while I was just sitting there this week, and I was like, oh, you know, I need to do a crocheted version of the classic paper. I mean, it's not really a cup holder. It's something so that you can handle it so it's not too hot on your hand. So I just started to play, and I just happened to throw a bunch of fall colors of yarn into my basket before heading out because I just like to play with crochet with my crochet hook whenever I'm out and about. And so the first thing I did was just something very simple. Although this might still be my husband's favorite. It was not my favorite. But you know, it does the job. It's in fall colors. And you know, this was just something that I whipped up while I was sitting there drinking my coffee. But then I just had to do, I was, you know, you never stick with your first design because that's no fun. So then I started playing around with triangles. And so I'm just going back and forth with triangles. And I think what I liked about this one sort of helped me work out how many stitches I need, kind of my sizing, my gauge, if you will. And what I like about the triangles is the stretch is going in all different directions, which really helps it have the stretch it needs to go around the cup, but also the grip it needs to stay in place. So then I made, I turned my triangles into a protector. And, this is kind of cute. This is okay, but it was getting the meh review from my husband. He liked the stripe one better. And although I don't let him decide everything, I do take reactions pretty seriously. And I thought it was kind of boring too. I was thinking about putting an applique of some kind on it. But I liked the triangles. So I thought I was kind of onto something with the triangles. And that's when this guy came along. So this one, and it's hard to see, but I'm using the triangles. This is a variegated green yarn. This is Ferris Wheel by Lion Brand. I kind of came home from the coffee shop and looked for a variegated green that I could use, and still, I wanted to have the triangles show up a little bit more, and I wished this one actually color changed a little bit faster so you could see some of those other tones. And then I also spent quite a lot of time just kind of developing a little pumpkin shape. But this one, I think, is going to be the winner. This top wants to pop off, so I'm going to let it. Hold on. Have to put a suit on. And I do think, because of the nature of crochet, over time, I'm trying to make them close fitting, because over time, they will probably stretch out a little bit, and you don't want them to be too big. But that's kind of cute. Now imagine your pumpkin spice latte and your to-go cup that has a pumpkin on it. Or maybe you hate pumpkin spice latte. Imagine whatever drink you like in your cup with a cute pumpkin on it that you can reuse over and over again. So this is, and then because I always have to test other things out, I kind of played around with maybe making one that was ribbed, which is sort of reminiscent of how people like to crochet pumpkins in the fall. And I was still sticking with the green theme, but this actually does not, it's too stretchy. It's too stretchy for the job, so that's not great. And then I also played around with just a different colorway, using a different variegated yarn that I knew had shorter colors in the stripes. And while I think this is kind of cool, and if you didn't want to be too on theme, you could certainly make this just using whatever yarn you wanted. I do kind of, I like the little green and gold with the orange trim and the little pumpkin, and then I have another little pumpkin shape here, because coming up with like kind of a small pumpkin actually took me a little bit of time to come up with a shape that definitely represented a pumpkin but was still like nice and petite. So this is just a little pumpkin applique. I guess you could have multiple pumpkins going all the way around your cup protector. So this is just, I think I'm sharing this because it's just very much an example of me in the wild. I just get an idea and I start playing, and next thing you know, I've made something that that I think is cute. I don't know, what do you think? Would you make this and actually use it when you're running to the coffee shop? So I'll probably be making this into a crochet tutorial for the channel in just another week or two. Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to share that with you, what happens on a Wednesday at a coffee shop when you have your basket with you full of yarn and crochet hooks. This fall marks my family's re-entry into the world of camping. I watch a lot of van life and camping content on YouTube, and I'm always sitting there thinking I want to do what they're doing. So I'm finally taking action. We bought a tent and all of the basic essentials, and up Mount Lemmon we drove for a couple nights in the Coronado National Forest. This is the view from Spencer Canyon. I found a rock that I could sit on and dangle my feet over the edge of the canyon. I just loved sitting there listening to the wind blowing through the alpines. One thing that I sometimes miss is spending time in the woods because I grew up playing in the woods. So whenever I spend time surrounded by tall trees, I feel a bit like I'm home. It had been so long since the last time any of us had been camping that we sort of wondered if we would enjoy it or not. I'm happy to share that we all had a great time. It's amazing how entertaining it can be to watch a chipmunk try to raid your picnic table, or the little finchy birds that were the color of the forest hopping around, hoping for scraps, not realizing what tidy little humans we are. Our 2-night camp was over way too soon. Before we knew it, we were driving back down the mountain.
Summer air through window crack. Oh, it feels like that, like the summer sun on quiet tracks. Oh, it feels like that, like the summer rain that falls so slowly on the naked.
While we were camping, my son found a pretty little rock and gave it to me as a gift. He knows that I will take a pretty rock and turn it into a piece of jewelry, and so of course that's exactly what I did. I simply start by chaining 2 and then working 6 single crochets into the second chain from my hook and working a slip stitch to the first single crochet. This forms a little ring, and the next step is to chain 5 and single crochet into the center of that ring, and then repeat that a second time. We're basically starting the beginning of a little mesh bag into which we are going to place our stone. We will continue to work in the round by chaining 5 and working a single crochet into the next chain 5 space. We're going to keep repeating this until you can really see this little mesh cover beginning to form. If you're working with a larger rock, you might need to work into that beginning ring 1 or 2 more times just to make your little bag wider to accommodate that stone. Also, I'm chaining 5 because I want a fair amount of my rock to show through. If you have a larger rock, you might chain 6 or 7, and with a smaller stone, you might chain 3 or 4. So you're kind of making a little custom holder for your special stone. Before I get too far along, I'll go ahead and stop and weave in the beginning tail. Now, there is not a lot to weave it into. Go back and forth the best you can. I also sometimes use just a little dot of glue or no fray just to make sure that beginning tail doesn't slip loose from its stitches. Once that bit of yarn maintenance is complete, I can continue on with my mesh bag by chaining 5 and working a single crochet into the next chain 5 space. I'm going to keep going around until I feel like I have a little mesh bag that will cover a half to maybe 2/3 of my stone. I was kind of chatting at the beginning of this segment when I posted the materials that I'm using. This is a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook, and I'm using size 8 DMC pearl cotton. I have links for everything in the description below. This is a speedy little project. My rock is only about 1.5 inches long and 3/4 of an inch wide. So before you know it, I'm ready to go ahead and insert my stone into the little bag and just kind of play around with it until the stitches are where they look nice to me. And then I'm just going to go ahead and reattach my crochet hook and do the rest of it while the rock is in the mesh bag. The trick here is as you get closer to the top, to reduce the number of chains between your single crochets so that your mesh bag will start to narrow as you get towards the top. You'll see me go from 5 chains to 4 chains and then down to just 2 or 3. I'm not going to lie, it can feel a little bit awkward crocheting around a rock, and yet it's also oddly satisfying to be working with such an organic shape and something that came from the earth. So as you can see, I kind of just keep going until I run out of rock, and then it's time to weave in the ending tail. I kind of weave it in on the side of the rock that I consider to be the back side, and once again I will grab my no fray or that little bit of glue just to tack this loose end in place. The simplest way to turn this into a necklace is to use a 6mm jump ring, which you can open and close without any special tools, and just work the jump ring over a chain at the very top of your rock. Now you have a way to thread a necklace chain or cord through that jump ring, and your rock necklace is ready to wear. I realize that a rock necklace is not going to be for everyone, but I actually love a necklace that has a memory attached to it. When I wear this, I'll remember our camping trip, and I'll remember my son being so sweet as to go rock hunting and pick out a special rock just for me. I love that with just thread and a crochet hook, throw in a jump ring and a cord, you can create a keepsake. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'd love to hear what you like to crochet when you're out and about or out in the wild. It's so fun to get inspiration just from the world around us. I'll be back next week with a crochet tutorial, so until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I love that with a little bit of thread and a crochet hook, throw in a jump ring and a cord,